Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Board Game BBQ episode 361, brought to you by Advent Games, More Than Meeples, and our lovely patrons. You've got Conor here, and I am joined by my fellow Melbourne, well, formerly Victorian brother, in Joe down there in very cool and crisp Melbourne. How are you going?
Sad trombone sounds as I'm by myself in Melbourne. Yeah, it's really cold at the moment. It's really cold. I've got all the heaters blasting, so hopefully by the end of the episode I'll be nice and warm.
And we've discussed this before. You are never going to wear an hoodie, so that's like a...
I have morals and standards, and we've talked about this, and I love myself enough to never wear one. No offense.
You did wear Crocs though when you're up in Darwin, though. I did see that.
How dare you? How dare you put me on blast in front of our fans? How dare you?
Hey, when in Rome, as you know. But as much as Joe could definitely talk about my fashion sense as well, or lack of fashion sense that I have, we're going to be talking about some board games today. It's just the two of us. And Joe, I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce the first game on your list, although I'm pretty sure the listeners would love to hear me try. I know the first word, because that's the capital of France, but the rest, please tell me more.
So you're going to have to make me say it. Okay.
Your background, I think that you have definitely a way of being able to say some of these more, for me, exotic names. I'm sure it's not that exotic for many people.
True. My French is terrible, though. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Paris, la Cité de la Lumière. So I think it's been talked about in the pod a long time ago from memory, but, with my dating adventures, I've been able to play a lot more two-player games recently. And so I've had Paris, la Cité de la Lumière on my shelf of shame for ages. And I recently got to play it a few times in a row. And that is a mean little game. Have you played it,
I
Conor?
have not played it.
Mean. Like, it looks so lovely on the box. Like, it's got this lovely kind of Parisian art on it. If you haven't heard of the game or played the game, essentially it's a game where very cleverly it uses the box as the game board.
Oh, yes. Now this is ringing bells.
Yeah, which is very cool. And the game's played over two phases. One where you're playing down almost like little patchwork squares, essentially, which has different colors. So it's a two-player game. Each player has a different color. And the point of the game is that you're building out Paris, the City of Lights, and you're trying to build out the foundations for your buildings in the first round. And then the second round, you're trying to build buildings as well. And it's all about, it's essentially a tile laying puzzle game. And you're going to be building out buildings on this little square grid. And you want to position the buildings that you build in a way that they have the most light shone upon them. And on the little tiles that you're placing in the first round, there has your coloured squares, your opponent's coloured squares, and then the lights as well. So you're maximising points in that way. It's a bit hard to describe. It's such a visual game. But what you're essentially doing on your first round, you're placing these tiles so that you form pathways of your own colour or blocks of your own colour. They form the foundations for the buildings you build in the second phase. And so if you can see that a person is going, and the buildings are all different shapes, so it'll be like a U shape, kind of like Tetris pieces, polyominoes. So if you can see that your opponent is trying to build foundations in that first phase for a particular building tile that they're taking, you can really mess them up by then placing your own foundation tile down that completely ruins that shape that they're trying to go for. So I played a couple of rounds of this game. The first round, the person I played with was really stuffed me up, and I got such a really terrible score the first round. And then the second round, I did the same thing back to them where they were going for a particular combination of pieces altogether. And just by placing one piece, I completely ruined their whole strategy. And the whole rest of the game, like, oh my God, you really stuffed me up with that one placement. So I was really surprised at how savage the game was. It was really fun. I think if you like two-player games and you can get two-player games to the table, I think it's something you can consider playing. I would wonder if you're playing in a couple and one of the couple doesn't really like mean games. I'm not sure how you would go with this one because it is mean.
And so it sounds like one of those games where you need to be okay with the other person stuffing around with your stuff and coming in over the top. Like, because there's obviously games where you do a move, but the move itself benefits you more so than it ruins the other person. Whereas it seems like the whole idea is just to stuff. Well, not the whole idea, but it seems like the power of stuffing the other person up is quite high compared to, I guess, the benefit for you. So
I think even if you weren't trying to ruin someone's strategy, I think just by the nature of how tight the game board is, just even if you're trying to maximize your own points and not focus on like stuffing up the other person, you're naturally going to stuff up their kind of what they're aiming to do as well.
And so the board being the box, it's obviously not a massive box, or the lid's not massive. So
no, it's a small box. Yeah.
This looks cool. I actually quite like it. So you place your coloured tiles and the light down as well, so you get to place where the light is.
Yeah. So it's, I guess it's like a 3x3 grid or a 4x4 grid. I think it is a 4x4 grid essentially. And so you're placing, by the end of the game, you're going to have to be placing. You have placed out all 16 tiles because each player places out 8 tiles down. They're the foundation tiles. And then on one tile, it'll have that itself will be like a 2x2 grid of squares.
Yes, I see.
And so you then can rotate that to then change how the broader kind of group of colors are. And so in that first phase, you're either placing a tile or you're claiming one of the unique building tiles to then play in the second round. Yep. So you're kind of, again, in that first phase, you're balancing, do I want to make sure I stop them from getting the spaces they want, or do I claim a building tile so that they don't claim it before me? Or, so it's very strategic. It's very thinky. And I thought it was quite fun. And it looks really lovely and nice in its production. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's got these little meeple like these little things, which I think might come up later when we are talking about favorite board game components. Not necessarily these, but big chunky bits. Yeah. So that sounds cool. Here we go. Paris, la Cité de l'Amour. There we go. That was my best impression of that.
Good work.
Thanks.
Proud of you.
Cheers. Hear that, Dana? Even Joe's proud of me. So myself and Tom, we finished our campaign of Marvel Champions, the Sinister Motives. So that's the one that has the Sinister Six. I'm not going to spoil it. I mean, I don't think people don't play these games for the storylines, right? Like they just play them to play the favorite heroes. We stuck with Nova and Miles Morales, but for the first time, Tom decided to get into a little bit of deck construction, which I think he found really rewarding. I play these games I just start off with a character, and then I just deck build and go from there, whereas Tom always played with the pre-constructed decks, and we sort of talked about it. And the decks that we had weren't really cutting it against the boss. Like they weren't powerful enough, or they didn't suit the timings and the momentum, and we found it really difficult at some points because we would just get absolutely smashed by the villain, health-wise or whatever. I was finding that with Nova, I didn't have enough energies in my hero form because my energy card that I had was more beneficial to play in civilian form, so it's in your alter ego form. And you do flip back quite a bit as Nova, which is kind of cool because he's a kid, right? So it would be weird if, like, from a thematic point of view, he's a kid, so he can't just be out at night, right? Like he's got to come home, he's got to flip back to his alter ego. So that's a really nice touch that I kind of only grokked as I was playing it, but it was so good. Such a good way to finish it. We absolutely smoked the last villain. I think and Joe, we both know Tom very well. I think I've unlocked the beast. I think now he's just going to be like the Matrix now is all in his hands and he's going to be constructing all these cards. So yeah, I think the next one that we're going to play is one of the X-Men ones, and we might take control of some X-Men characters because Tom's got them. My collection's still in storage, so I'm very grateful that Tom is letting me play along with him. So it's been fun. But what this has done is I've gone, I think we're going to buy the new Arkham Horror second edition with all the investigators. I think it's a done thing. I really think Tom would enjoy it. I mean, I love it, clearly. I think, the whole deck building aspect is super enjoyable and fun. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good time. But the other one I've got too that's similar is Earthborn Rangers. So it's made by, I think, ex Arkham
Yes.
designers. So that's yeah. When's the last time you played Marvel Champs, Joe?
Oh, ages ago, and I only ever really played it solo. For the most part. I think I played it once in a duo, but it sounds like you've got yourself a board game husband now, so you need to hold on to him tight and find those 2-player games to play with him.
Definitely.
So you did you use the pre-constructed deck for Nova, or did you build your own deck?
So all the way up until this last round, the pre-constructed decks had been suitable and worked well, and because they're pretty good, like they synergize with the character. I had enough, I guess, after playing the scenario once, I was like, okay, I know there's a couple of cards that I could slot into here that's going to be really useful. So there's a particular card where when you change form, you get to do a free attack if you have it in your hand, or it might cost like 1 energy or something like that. So I was like, well, if I'm changing form backward and forwards, I would really like to have this card. And so that meant that, you could stay or start in alter ego mode, do your recovery, so it means you get your health back, and then flip and then doing a free attack or, an attack at the same time. And then I think Tom's one, so as Miles Morales, part of what he would do would be to stun or confuse the villain. And when you stun or confuse a villain, they effectively don't act in a particular way on that turn. He wasn't this villain, because it was the last one, you had to put 2 of the stun or confuse tokens on him. So he was like, okay, I need to generate more of this somehow. And so he went back in and then constructed it. He also had this card. It was so good. So he had this card called Beat Cop. So it was a random police officer. And I remember when this card came out, the Marvel Champions Reddit went bananas, because effectively what this means is, if you haven't listened to the episodes where we've talked about this before, effectively what you're competing against is a scheme, where if the scheme gets too much threat on it, you generally lose the game. There might be multiple ones. Then you've got the villain. The villain knocks you down to 0 hit points. You lose the game. What these beat cops do is they can, once per turn, they can take a scheme, a threat off the scheme. And then what you do is at whatever point you choose, you can discard the beat cop, and they will deal damage to a minion based on the amount of threat that's on them. So Tom had 3 of these out. So he was just taking 3 threat off the scheme each turn, knowing that at some point he was going to be able to just like one-shot one of these nasty minions. And it just made it so much easier. And I just remember, like, I said to Tom, no, this card is like borderline broken, but we were like, who cares? This game is broken. Like, this game is so hard. It doesn't matter. Like, and it's all within the rules. So yeah.
Do you think the scenario was designed that way to give you the impetus to go into your own deck construction, make that boss harder from a balance point of view?
I think so. And I think so. This was maybe the second or third of these boxes that they did. I'm going to say third, but I could be wrong. And I think the feedback was that people were wanting a bit more. They wanted to challenge themselves a bit more, which is fair enough. I can totally get that. So by the time, and there was just a lot of things to be able to manage. And it's one of those things where by the end, you're juggling 6 or 7 things that you've got to deal with. You've got, so it was the Green Goblin, but he'd been infected by the Venom symbiote. So he's on his glider going to different parts of New York, spreading this symbiote, this symbiote stew that he had going. And so it was really fun. And it was one of those things where, they're pretty much puzzles, and they're puzzles for how you want to decipher them and solve them. So it was just really fun, just unlocking that puzzle and finding the best way. But yeah,
my challenge with because I'm going to be talking about a card game as well in a second, but my challenge with using pre-construction versus constructing your own deck is I just don't have a good memory, or I don't have that type of brain where I have like a encyclopedic catalog of the different options for cards. And so I just wouldn't know, oh, yes, this isn't the problem in my deck. I know this cards exist and would fit well into that. And so do you have that kind of thinking, or?
I think a lot of the time it's like, oh, I forgot this card exists. Oh, I forgot that card exists. I think in a different day and age, I would have a list of cards that would work well with particular characters or whatever. What I have done in the past when we've played through Arkham campaigns, so 5 or 6 years ago when I was still in Warrnambool, I was playing with a couple of mates, is we would sit down, and part of our days, it was almost like the days when you do D&D and you have a character creation day. We would have a deck construction day. We wouldn't play any scenarios. We'd just sit down and we'd choose which character we wanted, and we'd foster through all the cards. Sometimes we'd even open up the expansion and go through that. So yeah, that
sounds more fun. Doing it together sounds more fun.
Yeah,
to
100%.
Me, and have people give you advice. I think that sounds a lot cooler.
Yeah. But your card game is all about deck construction. And I am the one that's usually been bitten by this bug, and I've somehow managed to stave it off for several years at this point.
It's so we're going to talk about Magic the Gathering in a second, because yes, again, in my 2-player kind of exploration, 2-player game exploration, I've been playing a bit of Magic the Gathering Commander, gentleman I've been dating, and so I'm pretty certain I will never fall in deep with Magic the Gathering, because it's kind of that thing. I'm not sure if you watch anime at all, Connor, but the anime One Piece, where there's 1,000 episodes. And everyone says it's so amazing. And I'm like, I just will never, ever dip my toe into it, because I know it is impossible that I will ever watch 1,000 episodes of a show, of any show. It could be the best show in the world. I will never watch it. The same with Magic the Gathering. There are so many cards out there. There's so many different releases that I will never, ever. It's too big. It's too big, and I will never dip my toe into it. But I have been playing Magic the Gathering, the Commander variant. I've got a pre-constructed. Where I did fall into the hole was the Final Fantasy.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
So, because I just love Final Fantasy so much that I was like, okay, I need to collect these 4 pre-constructed Commander decks. So I was playing with the pre-constructed deck from Final Fantasy X, and my opponent was playing one of the pre-constructed. I think it was the most recent deck. If you're listening and you're a Magic the Gathering person, I'm so sorry, I'm about to butcher all the words, but it's the most recent Witherbloom deck, which is based on the Strixhaven kind of property, which I'm pretty sure is either a D&D property or a Magic Gathering property. I'm not sure which. Do you know, Connor?
No, but they crossed. Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, co-owned. Owned. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So my knowledge of Witherbloom decks is that that's based primarily on the Swamp, the black Magic the Gathering black decks, whereas mine was a combination of blue, white, and green. And so it was pretty fun. The person I was playing with plays a lot of Magic the Gathering Commander. They play in ridiculous, he regularly does pentas where it's 5 people, five people,
like a 5-person brawl. What?
Yes. It's crazy. And I'm like, oh my God, it must take forever. Anyway, but with my deck, I had him on the ropes both times that we played. And so it's interesting. I think I think we've talked about it a bit on the podcast, but if you've never played the Commander variant, the conceit behind it is that you have a 100 card deck, and each card in the deck is unique. You cannot have duplicates of any cards in your deck. So it's this huge deck, and one of my criticisms of the Commander variant is that you are so reliant on card draw and drawing the things that you need to create your combos The balance, I think, is that everyone has that issue on the table. So you have to, like, if you are going to construct your own deck, you have to think about, okay, there's 100 cards in the deck. I can't have my entire strategy hinge on this one card. It has to be like different little combos that can kind of arise based on what you draw. My criticism of Commander is around having so many unique cards. It just means that I have to play that deck a lot to know what cards are in there and to understand the combos that are in the deck if I haven't constructed the deck from scratch myself. And so it means that if your strategy is very reliant on card draw, but then it's balanced because everyone has that same problem. But I think to speak to the pre-constructed deck and how well balanced it is that I was able to have my opponent on the ropes, even though I had really very little idea of what's going on, and not really understanding the strategies in the deck or in my opponent's deck, for example. I had him sweating both times, and it was pretty fun. So I think we'll continue playing it. I've got a few of the other Final Fantasy decks that I'd like to go ahead and have a look and see how they play and see if it feels different to the Final Fantasy X deck. The other thing that I did that the person I played with gave me this idea which was really clever and actually really helped. I'm not sure if you've ever done this, Connor, if you'll admit to doing this. I asked Claude, which is like a chat GPT thing. I said, this is the pre-constructed deck that I'm playing with. What are the win conditions and what are some of the strategies and combos in this deck? And actually, it gave me a really useful summary as a beginner to be like, well, think of these combos, think of these like card trios, for example. So if you get one of these cards, try and look for the other cards and try and get more card draw, for example, or do this and do this. And so it was really useful. And I think if you're a beginner in this, I think it's a really nice accessibility tool to be like, look, you have no idea what's going on, but these are the things you should be looking for to make yourself competitive if you're playing with other people that know how to play.
So when I played Magic, I didn't have AI. I had CJ, who's my brother, who would just have vast knowledge of Magic cards. He would be able to pull off these incredible combos. What I do remember, though, it's funny you talk about pre-constructed like your own constructed, is I can't remember. I would have talked about this before, but the way we used to play Magic was not efficient. Like, we used to have these huge 200 card decks. Pretty sure it's illegal.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right. Like, absolute monstrosities.
So
to the point where I wouldn't even shuffle my whole deck. I would just shuffle the top half because I'm like, I'm not going to get through the rest of them. So I just like take the top part and shuffle that up. Anyway, we used to have this incredible system that I think I can't remember if I've talked about it before, but my brother, CJ, he just bought a pre-constructed deck and was absolutely whooping me, like absolutely caning me. And I was like, this is so unfair. Like, why does it work so good? And it was like, at that point, I was like, oh, he is drawing the cards he needs because his deck only contains the cards he needs, not like all this like crap. Yeah. Because at that point I was like, I'll put this card in because it's cool. I'll put this card in, this card, this card in. And it is. So it was very finely tuned, this deck. But yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a slippery slope, like that whole Magic the Gathering. But what we have done is sometimes at Christmas time, if it's been a set that we've really enjoyed, we've bought maybe like 20 booster packs and we've done a draft with that, and that's been fun, and things like that. I feel like if I got stuck into that, I would just have piles and piles of cards like stacked up. I couldn't deal. It would be too much. So
it's like me with like Warhammer or like mini painting. It's like I have so much stuff in my house. I can't have more stuff. So it's like this hard line of like I can't have more stuff, and so I have a finite amount of stuff, and that's it. Yeah. So I've really enjoyed playing Magic the Gathering. I think the lost both times. I can see that the difference between him and me is that he can pinpoint like the key card or key two cards in my engine that is fueling it and gets rid of the card, and then my whole momentum is stuffed. And so I don't have that power. So I think that's where he gets the edge over me and wins me. But I can see that if I keep playing, I'll be able to kind of grok that strategy or that way of thinking and then be able to take his cards out, for example. So yeah, I'm going to keep playing it and see how we go.
On that. Yeah. I played for the first time Pampero with Sarah.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, it's really good. We'll have to play it because it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's got this. I mean, first of all, you get a board where as you place, things like transformers or windmills or whatever, or power stations onto the board, you unlock more stuff. So straight away, that part of my brain is just like, yep, I want to play this. I want to see what I can do. And
I immediately had a vision of you placing like Optimus Prime on this like very sleek board.
Game all about power, and I'm placed the leader of the Autobots down. Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
Now I need to see this happen. Julian, please make this game. I don't care if just please let me place my favorite Autobots onto the board. So it's a card-based game, which is cool. I quite like that. So you play the cards, you play a limited number of cards, and then you can either take them all back, or with an action, you can take the last one that you place down back. I'm sure both, I'm sure lots of people have talked about this already on the podcast, and I only played it once, and it was so funny because at the end, I think I scored $3 because I was just so far in debt. And I was like, is $3 a good score? She's like, well, I scored 150, so I don't think so.
Oh my God,
it was like exorbitant. It was so bad. But what had happened? I'm trying to pinpoint. Where did it go wrong? It went wrong the moment I sat down and decided to play Pampero. Not for me, I really enjoyed it, but for my score, I had it in my brain what I did wrong, but which isn't helpful because now I've forgotten this for the next time I play it. But effectively, there was something that I thought was going to net me a lot of points in the last round, therefore be able to pay off my loans, but I wasn't able to do that action. And we played with the beginner setup. And I think what happened was I kind of leaned into one area that wasn't rewarding me with a lot of money. It was letting me do a lot of actions or letting me do a lot of, letting me gain a lot of power. But that power then didn't turn into money, which meant that that's the end game. And it's got that cool thing of money is points, but you have to spend money in order to do actions. So that whole idea, and that even though I'm not super great at these economic games, but that whole idea of, you need to spend your victory points as a resource, I think that's really appealing. And then, people that are really good at these games can weigh and determine what's going to be the best way to spend my money to make sure that I have something. And there were phases where I would have heaps of money, but I would spend it all and then I wouldn't recoup it. And I thought it was a really good push and pull mechanic. The flow and because we played 2-player, there was lots of spot blocking. So you go on a spot, that meant that you couldn't generate power or you couldn't store power. Oh, that's what it was. So one of my strategies was when you generate a certain amount of power, you get batteries. And the whole idea was every time I generated a battery, I was supposed to get money. But each time I was like 1 or 2 power off being able to generate extra batteries. So then I wasn't really leaning into my power. But yeah, again, it's a dense game. It is a really, really fun game.
I was going to ask, how heavy did it feel?
I don't think it's not as heavy, I think, as some of the other games that we both played. But it is punishing, if that makes sense. So it's, the choices are there, but you got to make sure you make the right choice rather than just being totally overwhelmed and not know what to do. So effectively, you can do what you want on your turn, but whether that's the right option or not, you've got to decide that, as opposed to, no, I can't do that, I don't have enough money. No, I can't do that, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough power or whatever. It's like, no, you could do this, but is it going to be rewarding 3 turns down the track? Don't know. It's that type of thing.
Interesting.
So, yeah,
cool.
really,
really keen to play it.
Yeah.
It's been on my shelf shame for ages. Yeah.
It's beautiful to look at. Like the components, big components are great. And like I said, the board that unlocks more stuff as you go along. It's like, oh yes, like tracks. Nice. Like I just love it. So yeah, it's been really
one
fun.
of the criticisms I've seen of the game is that it may be a bit overproduced in terms of too big a board, too big a box, the components too big. Do you agree with that? What did you feel?
No, I don't think so. My opinion with production and games is that they are a tactile medium where you want to enjoy spending time with it. So, I mean, when people say overproduced, like, what do you mean? Like, but is this part of the designer's vision? Is it part of the developer's vision? If it is, then it's not overproduced, right? You know, their idea may be to get eyes on it, and then people are like, I want to play with these parts. I want to place these windmills on the board. I want to move my truck or my earth mover. Like, I want to be able to do that and it look enjoyable, as opposed to sitting over it and it's this sort of, sorry, Sarah, beige, boring board, right? Like, so yeah, I think. I mean,
I agree with you. I think, to me, the idea of an overproduced game is one where it's like these really elaborate components that look very expensive, for example, but they actually don't do anything to the game. So like nice dual layer boards, for example, or a nice large game board, or a large, it's a colorful game board, or components where you're actually using them, moving them around, and it adds to the tactile nature of the game. I think that's a nice addition. And if people are willing to pay for that, I think that's fine. It's where it's like the first player marker is like this huge thing.
Yeah, like why? So, for example, Bitoku, which I talked about on the last episode, there are literally rounds or phases that are draw a card. So you have this phase marker that moves you along in the phases.
Yeah.
It is totally unnecessary. So for me, while I love it and it looks great, like that section is overproduced because you don't even need that part. Like, you just tell people you're going to draw cards, you're going to reset the board, you're going to play your actions. It's done. Like, that's just part of the round.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, let's move to the next phase. And it's got this beautiful tree, this screen printed wooden tree, but there's no point. There's no point of it being there because it's such a silly concept. It's not as if like, in this phase is when you activate this power, or this phase is where you activate this power. No, everything activates in the one section. So there's different phases. So no, I agree with you. And with Pampero, right? Yeah, okay, they could be tokens instead of little wooden pieces, but you still need something to be on your personal board to block spaces until you unlock them, and you need to have some sort of presence on the board, and it needs to be visually different, so you know that I've already got a power station there, or my opponent's already got a power station there. If they were all looking the same, it'd be like, is that a windmill? Is that a power station? If it was a token, you got to lean over and look at it. No, you can clearly see by the outline of the wooden piece that it's the power station or the transformer or a windmill, right? So I don't agree with that.
Cool. Yeah, cool. Yes. So another game, before we get on to our sizzles, another game that I got to play recently as well that I really enjoy and wanted to talk about it was one of the button shy games, so Skulls of Sedlec. Have you played that, Conor?
No, these button shy games. Oh, actually, have I played that? No, I don't think I have. No.
So Skulls of Sedlec is, if you aren't aware, the button shy game series is a series of games where the concept of them is usually it's based on an 18 card deck, and the whole game is based on that. And so the conceit of them was that they would fit in a little wallet, so you could actually just put them in your pocket, for example, and go and play with them. And so Skulls of Sedlec was one of the ones from quite a while ago now in terms of their releases, and it is a really cute little game where essentially you're building out your own pyramid. The theme of it is from one of the ossuaries from the Czech Republic, I think, where essentially a monk would go along and take go through the crypts and stack up skulls essentially in a kind of pyramid shape within the ossuaries as a display thing, I assume. I actually don't know why they did that. And so in this game, you've got cards where you're stacking skulls on top of each other. So you're creating a pyramid of cards within your own tableau. And then you score points at the end of the game based on the position of the different skulls within the pyramid. And it's got, on one card, it's got 2 skulls stacked on top of each other vertically. And so there are cards where, for example, there are the skulls where it's called the lovers, where they want to be next to each other in your pyramid, and each pair scores you a certain amount of points. There are peasants, which are just happy to be there, and they score you 1 point per peasant within your skull pyramid. There are the royals, where they score points based on how many peasants are below them within the pyramid. There are priests, where the priests want to be throughout society essentially equally, and so you get, for each row you have a priest, you get a certain number of points. And then you've got the thieves, where they you score points if they're next to a priest, for example. And so that's kind of the game. So it's all about the positioning. The way the game works is, on your turn, you've got essentially a graveyard. So where you'll have one card turned up at the start of the game. And on your turn, you can either take a face-up card from the graveyard, or you can dig. And so digging is turning up face down, flipping up face down cards. But then that's the end of your turn. So the risk of doing that is that you're then providing a card to your opponent, because you're playing, I guess, it's a 2 or 3 player game. So if you're digging, you're giving them the option of looking at the cards and taking first pick, essentially. But someone has to dig. And so, and then you have a maximum hand of 2 cards as well. So that's really the game. It's very simple, very straightforward. I really enjoy it. It plays really quickly, and it fits in your pocket. So out of all of the Button Shy games I own, that and Tussie Mussy are 2 of my favorites, and I will often just carry them around with me wherever I go. And I have them like in my work bag or in my my travel bag, for example, when I'm going out or going interstate, and so I can just play it with people. And yeah, really fun, really enjoyed it. I loved that I got to play it again. And actually, I played with my cousin, and she was like, "Oh, can I take that and Tussie Mussy and play it with my girlfriend?" So it was really nice. So she really enjoyed it too.
Can you play them solo or?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like beat your score type setup for the solo one.
Yeah, I'm just not a solo gamer, so I wish I had the thought to look at the solo rules. But I think Skulls of Sedlec. Let me have a look. Yeah, you can play it solo, apparently. Tussie Mussy, I'm not sure whether you can play that one solo or not.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I do own a couple of. I also own Sprawlopolis and Rove. Rove is one of the one player.
Oh yeah.
I've never actually played it, so I don't know how Rove goes. But so some of them, a lot of them, they have like one player only Button Shy games. And so if you are someone who plays solo a lot and you like the idea of having it in a little wallet that you can take with you to work, for example, definitely have a look.
If you're looking for a friendly, reliable place to pick up your next board game, check out Advent Games. They've been proudly serving families and gaming groups all across Australia since 2012, and it shows. With excellent communication and a huge range of the latest releases, pre-orders and classics, Advent Games makes it easy to find exactly what you're after. And they're passionate gamers too. So you're not just buying from a store, you're supporting people who love the hobby as much as you do. Advent are also proud sponsors of both the Board Game BBQ Podcast and of PlayCon, with the option to purchase your games online now and pick them up at the convention. You can browse their full range at adventgames.com.au. Advent Games, great service, delivered Australia-wide.
Very good. Well, we might move on to our sizzles now. And I might lead us off because we've both been playing this.
Yeah.
And I was really keen on this when you came back and spoke about it at WellyCon. So you just raved and raved and raved about Regicide Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
So feel free to jump in at any point, especially when I inevitably make a faux pas or a blue. But you may be familiar with Regicide. It is played with a standard 52 card deck. I got that out there eventually, where what you're doing is you're separating the number cards, including the aces. The aces act as one, from the face cards, the jack, kings, and queens. And what you're doing is you're going and trying to defeat the jacks, then the queens, and then the kings in that order. The cool part about Regicide is that the different suits have different abilities. So, for example, in Regicide Legacy, I imagine it's the same. So there's a suit that will let you put cards back into your reserve deck because they've been spent. There's a suit that will let you draw cards to fill out your hand because your hand works as your attack and then your health. There is one that lets you reduce the attack of the royal, and there's one that will double your attack. So what you're doing is you are playing those cards out of your hand. You play one card at a time, but there's a couple of little different rules to do that. And the other thing you need to be aware of, and this is where we kept getting stuffed up, Joe, and I don't know if you're the same. When you play a suit against a royal that has the same suit, the ability is cancelled out. So effectively all you're doing is you're playing for the power of the card. Now, what happens is when you play a card, you then have to take damage. So unless you're able to reduce the damage that the royal does, you're going to take the full amount of damage, which isn't too bad when you and then to represent that damage, you have to discard that number, so that power of card, out of your hand. So, for example, if I attacked a jack and it had a strength of 10, I would have to get rid of either a 10 out of my hand or a 5 and a 5 or a 6 and a 4. You guys can do maths, so I'm not going to belabor that point. But
you don't know me.
Yeah. So, yes. So that's what you have to do. You have to discard those cards. What Regicide Legacy is exactly as it sounds. It's a legacy version of that game. So comes in this great box, almost the size of, maybe a little bit smaller than like the Railroad Ink collector's box. It's the same, similar dimensions. Comes with this lovely neoprene mat that you play the game on, and then lovely player mats too, which, mind you, are completely unnecessary, but I love them. They're very lovely to look at.
I agree.
Because you could just play it in front of you, but thank you for having that. It also comes with these really mint trackers as well. So along the side, there's the Royals' health, and then their attack power, and you can track that as you get rid of the health, and then their attack power goes down. But I mean, the art on the cards is just like, oh my god, it's so good. So on our Facebook page, I put up a picture of the duck, which is a bard.
That's my favorite card too.
It's so good. I was like, the duck has got to play the duck.
Good.
And then, I've had other people I've been talking to, and like I sent them the picture of it, and they're like, what game is this? And when can I play it with you? And I was like, yeah, don't worry. Like, I would happily invite people to come and play this game. So playing it with Tom, and we give Tom a lot of stick, both on the podcast and in person, because he is really good at games, right? He is really good at games. Oh, yeah. It took us 3 or 4 attempts to beat the first scenario, Joe. That's how hard it was. And that's effectively like base game of Regicide, right? So that's like the game you play. But whenever you lose, you gain a coin, which then lets you go and purchase mercenaries to put in your deck, right? And these mercenaries are generally worth 1 coin. Some of the better ones are worth 3. Some of the even more potent ones are worth 5. So for example, when you're playing with 2 people, you don't get to use a joker or a jester. You don't have any of them in your hand, but you can buy one that goes into your deck, and they're quite powerful as well. So, but what's cool is that once you finish the scenario, those mercenaries have done their job, so they leave and they go back into the main supply, and you don't get to use them unless you lose in the same scenario again. And of course, it's a legacy game, so there's stickers to unlock, more cards, cards to corrupt. So you've got different sleeves. There's like corrupted sleeves and so on and so forth. I'm not going to give away too much more, but yeah, I mean,
we had the same problem. So I played with Lorenzo, and so we the first scenario, which is like the introductory scenario and base, like you said, base Regicide. The first 3 times we were like, are we doing something wrong? What's going on? Why do we keep losing? Why can't we get through this? And then, like you said, there's I think it says after you've lost, unlock this box, which is the mercenaries box. And so for the first 2 times we were too proud. We were like, no, we're not going to open that box. We're going to try and do it ourselves. And then after we lost the 3rd time, we were like, okay, maybe we are going to open the box and see how we go. And then with the mercenaries, we had enough power to then. I think also my strategy was completely wrong. Whereas I was just going like balls to the wall. Like I was like, if I can defeat this, I'm going to spend all the cards, and then the more powerful cards would then kill you. I don't know what you thought. My impression was, so like you said, Conor, if the enemy you're fighting has the same symbol, you can't then use the power of that suit of cards. And so the one that we struggled against the most was the bards. So the bards are what lets you draw cards. If you can't play a card from your hand, that's essentially your HP, you lose. And so we found that the jacks, queens, and kings, where the bard was the jack, queen, or king, it meant that you couldn't draw cards. We found that one really hard. If we weren't prepared for it, we would lose.
So we sort of worked out that the 2 that we struggled the most with were the paladin ones, because you can't reduce their attack. So that became what became imperative was trying to take them out in as fewer turns as possible. So it's like, let's just hit them hard so we can get rid of them. So we know we're going to have to spend cards because they're going to deal the full amount of damage. So let's do that. The bard one, there were so many times where we would get through, sort of like two of the jacks, kings, or queens, and there would be the bard and another one left. And Tom would be like, well, as long as it's not the bard, we're fine. But if it's the bard, we're,
cooked.
Yeah, for lack of a better term. And what card would be? Which one would it be? It would be the bard. And it's like, well, we can't win now. Like, we literally don't have any cards. And the other thing too is, what's crippling is like, you'll be saving strong bard cards up to play so you can draw lots of cards. But in the end, it's like, no, like, you can't play them. The other cool aspect is when so in the first scenario, and I don't talk about the first scenario, not because I haven't played anymore, but definitely because I think it's not really that much of a spoiler. But when you defeat a royal with the exact amount of hit points that it takes, rather than going into the discard pile, it goes straight on top of your deck. So you now have a really powerful card that you can draw really quickly to use. But again, if it's the same suit as the other one, it becomes incredibly difficult to utilize, and you end up sitting on cards. And you're like, oh, do I use this yet? So yeah, that was our strategy. It'll be interesting to see if we can stick with the same strategy. Have you played any more than the first scenario?
Yeah. I definitely don't want to spoil it, because I thought, especially like when we went to the second scenario, we're like, oh my god, this is really cool. It's changed up the way you play it. And it was very thematic, I thought, the second scenario. I think, we've just done the first and the second scenario. I don't think we've done the third. But we thought it was very... And then we actually smashed that second scenario first go without any mercenaries. I thought that was cool. In that first scenario, I thought it was really cool how you... And it kind of ties to the theme of, like, there's this, like, corruption that's taking over the land. And in this first scenario, it's that the corruption has taken over the royal court, the different suits, essentially. And so when you defeat the person, it's like you've snapped them out of the corruption and they join your side, which is why they either go into the discard pile for you to then shuffle into the deck later, which would take a lot of time, or you get them straight away on your next card draw if you have the exact... if you hit them for the exact damage, and then they go on the top of your deck, so you'll draw them. And those more powerful cards do more damage for that particular suit, for example. So I thought that was really clever, that mechanic. I'm not sure if there's that. I've never played baseline Regicide. I'm not sure if that mechanic exists.
Yeah, and I was wondering the same thing too. I would imagine it's a good rule or mechanic for you to have in a game like that, because it gives you impetus to not overspend or to be selective about the cards that you play.
Yeah.
Or even, your thing. So an interesting choice is there's particular cards that you can play with each other. So there's it's like kingship or kinfolk. So it's if you play, you can play two of the same value cards from different suits, but the total must be either equal to or less than 10. Correct. So you can play 2 4s together, 2 3s together, so on and so forth.
Yeah. And the power of that is that you get to activate both abilities.
Yes, that's right.
And the power of each ability is based on the sum of the cards. So if you play 2 4s, like a 4 bard and a 4 warrior, it means that you get to draw 8 cards and you get to do double the 8 damage.
Yeah, so you do 16 damage, which is pretty cool. And then the other ones that you can play together are the animal cards.
Yeah,
so the
animal companion.
Yeah, which is like we were talking about the duck. So the duck, it's funny because it's duck plates, which is an armadillo or a pangolin. Manuka, which is like I don't actually know. It looks like a honey badger, and then Wayne. Wayne is a fox. Who names a fox Wayne? So
cute.
I think the other thing to shout out is it's made by some Kiwis. So it's made as you said, it was as you said last year from Wellicon, and so it's just awesome that it's
badges from Mars.
Yeah, badges from Mars are fantastic.
Yeah.
It's not often I've gone away from a game, gone to bed, and been really excited for the next time, proper excited for the next time. To crack in and see what I can do. So I believe this weekend I'm very lucky to be graced with Tom's presence again. So I'll be hopefully we can get through this scenario. Now the pressure's on, Joe. You've done it in one sitting. I've got to make sure that we do it in one. Maybe I won't tell Tom that because he'll get frustrated at me if we lose. It's like, we can't.
You haven't done the second scenario.
No, I haven't done the second scenario.
It's really cool. I think you'll when you read through the rules, you're like, oh my god, that's really cool. How they've changed it.
I'm excited. And one other thing too, for those people who love opening booster packs or whatever. When you complete it, there is a booster pack for you to rip open, and the rewards or the extra rules or whatever within that booster pack. It's perfect. So
it's like more cards, more it changes up the rules a bit. I thought they did a really good job of the actual legacy components. That's the thing that we didn't get a feel for at Wellicon. That now that I've played it through a couple of the chapters, is that sometimes with legacy games it can be a bit over raw. It's very complicated about how you save the game, and whereas this is all kind of in tuck boxes, and each time you open a tuck box for the new chapter, it's very clear what the rules are. It's very clear what the win condition is. It tells you how to set it up properly, and when you're packing it away, it's all really straightforward. It's it's all based on the sleeves, and so you sleeve up your deck before your next turn, essentially. And so you really just pull your deck out, shuffle it, and you're ready to go, essentially. And if you have to add cards because of the new chapter box, it's just you chuck in the sleeves and add it to your deck and go ahead. So really clever the way they've managed the legacy component, where it's really not a big deal. It doesn't take a long time to set up or pack down. It's really straightforward. And I think they've really elegantly designed the way that you track the life and the attack for each of the enemies and stuff. It's just along the game map, and I just think they've done a really good job of the production of the game.
We had a lot of satisfaction whenever we'd play a paladin, reducing sucked in, sucker. It's So
it was very fun. We really enjoyed our plays of it as well. We're definitely going to play some more and look forward to finishing. It's only 12 chapters, which is nice. It's not like it's huge campaign. So looking forward to playing more as well.
Very good. Well, you've also been playing a card game.
Yes.
This is one of my favourite card games going around, but I have not played with some of the expansions like you have.
Yes, so I'm going to talk about sea salt and paper again. I feel like I've talked about sea salt and paper each time I've come on the pod, and the reason for that is that this is probably the game I've been playing the most recently. I think it's excellent at 2 players, and I think I've said that on previous pods as well. But I have been playing it so much that when I had purchased the extra salt and extra pepper expansion for sea salt and paper, it wasn't available in Australia. And so I'm going to talk about specifically the extra pepper expansion this time around. And it's just been released in Australia from what I can see looking at Board Game Oracle. So the extra pepper, we've talked about in this pod before, the sea salt and pepper extra salt expansion. So that's where it adds new cards to the deck with new powers. And so we had added that in and played that for a bit as well, me and Lorenzo. And then the extra pepper expansion, what that does is it adds modifiers if you win or lose, essentially. So the extra pepper cards that are included in the mini expansion. Firstly, the expansions I love for this game is that they come in this paper blister pack, essentially like a booster pack. So that's how the expansion comes. And they're made of paper, so it's environmentally responsible. And it's just like a thin deck of I think maybe 10 cards in the extra pepper expansion. And so what it does is you shuffle this little mini deck, you have it to the side, and each round of the game you have a new card come up. And the new card that comes out, it modifies the game in a certain way for that particular player.
Ah, yeah, nice. Cool.
So you all know what the card is. And so, for example, one of the cards is the octopus cards. Normally it's one of the set collection cards. And so for the octopus cards, what you do is the more you collect, the more points you get. And so I think it's like 0, 3, 6, 9. So each card is worth 3 points essentially for the octopus cards. Whereas this card in the extra pepper expansion, what it does is for that player, if they win that card, they reduce the octopus cards to only being worth 1 point each. So it nullifies that strategy for them for the next round. And so each card in the extra pepper expansion has a little symbol on it to say, if you win, you take this card. If you lose the round, you take the card. And so the cards where the winner takes it, often it makes it harder for them to win the next round. And in the cards where the loser takes the card, often it makes it easier for them to win the next round. And so the different style of cards that you get is it modifies the set collection or scoring criteria. So that, like I said about that octopus card, some of the cards for the loser to take, it does things like it increases the power of the duos. So that, in sea salt and paper, you're playing 2 cards at once. You'll often play cards that you play a pair down of the card, and it has a special power. So the boats let you take another turn. The fish let you take a card off the top of the deck, for example. And so some of those losing cards in the extra pepper expansion, for example, if you take that anytime you play a fish duo, you draw 2 cards off the top of the deck instead. Another example is for the crab duo. So in the base game, when you play a pair of crabs, you draw a card. You go through one of the 2 discard piles in the game, and you take a card out of it. Whereas the extra pepper bonus card, if you take that because you lost the last round, what it lets you do is if you play crabs, you can take a card, 1 from each of the 2 discard piles, which is actually really powerful. So that's the kind of vibe in terms of the types of things you see on the extra pepper expansion. And then the other things it does is it modifies the end of round conditions. So for example, one of the cards is if you take this, you can't call stop. You have to call last chance.
Okay.
So riskier way of winning. There's one where, in the game, if you ever collect the 4 mermaid cards in your hand, you immediately win the whole game. You just stop the game completely. Whereas there's one card in the extra pepper expansion where if you collect 3 mermaids, you win the game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. There's another card that it completely nullifies the mermaid scoring. So if you take that card, you can't score for mermaids at all.
If you have 2 of them in your hand at the end, you can't. Okay, yeah, sure.
Yes, that's a separate one. So it adds this extra layer of strategy where it's like, do I actually want to win this round?
Oh, that's
if I win this round, I have to take that card,
Yep.
and I know the way that this other person plays. They really like the octopus strategy, for example. So maybe I'm going to let them win this round. I'm going to minimize my point loss for this round, and so it adds a very interesting extra layer of strategy that I don't think is actually all that much more. It doesn't add a huge layer of complexity.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they did that really well with the extra salt expansion. I don't think the extra cards in that expansion increased the complexity hugely. And they've done the same with extra pepper. So I can see that from a balance point of view, the tendency would be you add expansions, you make it more and more complex, whereas I don't think they've done that with sea salt and paper. So yes, so that's it. It's a pretty small sizzle. I was going to sizzle Regicide Legacy, but you stole that from me, Connor, but I'll allow it. I want to talk about this as well because I thought it's recently going to be released in Australia, and I think if you love sea salt and paper, it's definitely worth getting this expansion, and it definitely adds an interesting layer to the game as well.
So that whole decision space of do I want to win, do I want to lose, it reminds me of fishing. So in fishing by Friedman Freeze.
Oh, right.
Not actually.
Like fishing real life. I was like, what?
Yeah. It's like, you're probably like, yeah, there's fish. You know what? With that whole thing of, do I want to win tricks early because then I have points, but I also only have the crap cards. Whereas if you then go fishing for those cards, you can get stronger cards, but then inevitably, like, it's that whole thing. So yeah, I could see people backing themselves in and being like, I'm going to win big on this round. I'm going to win really big. And even if I then reduce my scoring later on, that's okay. Like that's fine because I've just had a massive buffer. So I had a massive like foot or like egg on my face moment playing this over the Christmas break with my family. So it was a massive hit. They love playing it. So we played it with so my sister, her kids, my brother and his partner. And I remember saying, like the mermaid strategy. I was like, yeah, no one really wins using the mermaid strategy. Like it's just too hard. And because we were playing with 4, right? It was I was just like, it's just really hard to get all 4. Anyway, twice. So we played 2 different games twice. Either me or Megan, my sister Megan, we had like, it was either going to be one of us 2 winning, right? We'd probably put ourselves in that position, right? So twice we were so keen on like milling and not ending the game to try and just make sure we were outscoring each other that Shosh, my brother's partner, she managed to get the 4 mermaids and just won the instance. So like, as you
that's
said,
so funny.
Won. And like once I was like, no, that's good. Like, I can't believe that's happened. I'm really happy for you. Like I was a bit shocked. And the second time I was like, I can't believe you did it again. She's like, well, you let me do it again. I was like, yeah, I know. That's why I'm annoyed at myself because I didn't learn the last time. I should just end. I got too greedy. I was too worried about Megan having that little bit more than me. And that made me like, keep like throwing cards away and whatever. So
that's really funny.
Yeah, I'm glad to see because I really like that mechanic. Like it's so removed and hard to do that. I think it's a good reward, and I hadn't really seen it being paid off before. So yeah,
I've never seen it happen before, but it's hard. It's also hard at 2 players because it's very cutthroat.
Yes,
so there's a lot of stealing going on backwards and forwards. So, and so just to let you know my stats, in case anyone would ever dare accuse me of being good at games, I've played Sea Salt and Paper 12 times with Lorenzo, and I've won 3.
40, 25%. That's not too bad. Yeah, I mean, like there was it was a PlayCon last year that I played with Finn, and it was like he just whomped me,
smoked you. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, and it wasn't even competitive. It was disgraceful. So
it's so funny.
So yeah, a couple of little card sizzles there in Regicide Legacy and Sea Salt and Paper Extra Pepper, as opposed to pepper being extra. So so it's very good. And we'll move on to some news and announcements. So, of course, PlayCon is fast upon us. We are going full steam ahead. Super excited. Of course, it is the 3rd to the 5th of July at the ICC in Sydney. Tickets are on sale. Saturday tickets are sold out. Sunday tickets are selling out quickly as well. If you're interested in going to both Saturday and Sunday, I would strongly suggest you grab yourself a 3-day pass. Means you come after work on Friday and see all the cool stuff that we've got going on. One of the coolest things that I think that we've organised is the Lego Catan that's up. I've had that many people message me like out of the blue, like people who I hadn't talked to for months. It's like, what, you have a Lego Catan? That's awesome. And there's even more cool stuff that's going to be going on. If you've been to one of our PlayCons before, it's all the stuff you have enjoyed and more. Designer Alley is in full swing. I'm really excited to see some of these designs. I assume you're the same, Joe. Like I'm really lucky in being able to do this stuff and meeting people and seeing their journeys and having them participate in the podcast and PlayCon giving a leg up. The Designer Alley is one of my favorite places to go and check out. So really,
yeah, I agree. And it's really nice seeing a lot of new names come through for the Designer Alley applications. So hopefully we get to make some new friends this year.
Yeah. And if you cannot hold out until July to get your Board Game BBQ board gaming fix, and you want to make the trek up to Brisbane, or you live in Brisbane, on June the 6th at the Royal on the Park, there is our Brisbane Winter Board Game BBQ Day. Tickets for that are on Eventbrite, so go and grab them. They generally always sell out pretty quick, and it's a great day up there. We've been to a couple up there. They've always been great fun. Go and say hello to our Brizzy crew. This episode is brought to you by Leader Games, proud sponsors of PlayCon for 3 years running. Leader Games are the publishers behind modern favourites like Root, Ahoy, Fort, and a vast and mysterious manner. Games known for memorable table moments, clever design, and rewarding repeat play. At Leader Games, they believe that games bring people together, creating fun, engaging experiences that welcome all kinds of players to the table. Whether you love asymmetric strategy, clever card play, or just discovering something different with your gaming group, there's a Leader Games title waiting for you. Check out Leader Games at leadergames.com. Okay, so this week's question of the pod is, what is your favourite board game component and why? Joe, what are your favourite board game components?
I think it's going to be a bit of an obvious answer, but for me, one of the things that attracted me to Root was the little meeples for each warrior. Essentially, they have like this screen printed little faces on them that just make them really endearing and really, I really enjoy playing with them. And I would never really upgrade the game in any way that changes the meeples because I think it just is perfect. I love their little faces. That's probably my favorite component. I'm trying to think of what else there is in games that I've recently played. The other thing I would say I really enjoy, I love a gimmick. And so like the Lazy Susan board of Fromage and Formaggio, I think is so clever the way they've done that. And I really enjoy that a lot as well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because one of our replies is from, I'm sort of skipping forward, but it's from Christian J. Suarez. And he said, the main board itself, there's so much to see, so much work goes into it, and it never gets any love. And it's like, yeah, like,
100%.
It's, people just forget. I think because it's like, it's the board, it's supposed to be there. Whereas when I think a lot of people are like, all components, it's like something that's extra or something that's a little bit on like over the top or on top of what's already there. So, I mean, like the Root meeple, screen printed meeples, the fact that each of them have so much character, right? Whether it's the little green loaves of bread for the lions, or the other one the other one I love too is what's the something thousand, the rat ones,
the rat, yeah,
like
Lord of the Hundreds,
Lord of the Hundreds, like some of those meeples, some of those little figures that they've got are fantastic. But all right, so I'll roll through some of our answers. So we talked about Christians. Georgos Manos says, and apologies if I've definitely mispronounced your name, so sorry there. I'm probably the minority here, but I love wooden components. No, you're in good company. You're in good company. especially well-shaped as veggies, animals, etc. Even wooden cubes that make me feel like it's going to be a mechanically sound old-school Euro game. 100%. Just a cube mover, cube shuffler. Don't be caught out, though, shuffling too many cubes, because people might think you like rail games, which,
the slippery slope.
Slippery slope. One thing you're loading crates onto in Le Havre or something like that, and then the next thing you know, turning peat into coal in Fields of Arle, and then the next thing you know, you're shuffling it along the railways of North America. Nikki D. Olivier. Nikki actually had quite a few responses. If you want to see more of her responses, head to Facebook. She had some good ones. But the one I picked was the Splendor Gem tokens, deceptively weighty, heavier than you'd expect them to feel. Yeah. Like they kind of feel like that poker chippy, right? It's a really good feel.
Yeah.
I think a couple of weeks ago I talked about the Nippon coins, and they're heavy and light at the same time. And I think Stephen, who quite often replies one of our patrons, he was like, "Nope, I understand exactly what you mean." He's like, I even went and got them out and tested them myself after. So I was like, "Yeah, it's exactly the same." Tim Barclay says, "I like squishy components like the berries from Everdell and the nectar from Honeybuzz." 100%, man. Like, if you're going to have berries as a component, they got to be squishy. Don't you go giving me hard berries. That's just no good. We had quite a few people say iron clays. Yeah, I mean, they're the number one. I don't think I will ever use any form of money other than iron clays. So that's good. And then Chris Anthony says big chunky wooden pieces. The units from Kenny. So Kenny, Aussie board game designer, Kenny Scrap, are particularly excellent. I also quite like acrylic components. Azul wouldn't have reached anywhere near its popularity if it just came with wooden cardboard tiles. You talked about minis earlier, Joe. I would happily replace every mini in my collection with an acrylic standee, because they are absolutely incredible. So Vagrant Song, which is got the art style of like Cuphead and Townspeak Tussle and Fliptoons. It's got these incredible acrylic standees, and they are just amazing. So I'm like, I would happily replace that. So yeah, I agree, Chris. Anything acrylic. What have other people been saying, Joe?
So from our Discord, so Lei Fei said, "I love the wheel in Amsterdam and Windmill Valley. These are probably my favorite." Satellia Nova said, "I always back Kickstarters at the metal coin level. However, my favorite components right now are the chunky wooden pieces from the old King's Crown. I'm looking forward to the glass marbles and arcade tower from Rematch." I've backed Rematch as well. Have you seen Rematch, Connor?
No.
Yeah. Have you seen it at all?
No.
So it's like a game where it's like an old school Street Fighter kind of vibe, but you're kind of drawing marbles from this kind of
I
marble
have seen
thing.
this.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Okay. Well, we've got to play it then. I
ended up backing it because I was like, I'm playing more 2-player games.
Yeah.
I love Street Fighter, and the kind of, it's almost like a potion explosion kind of mechanic. It looks really cool. Rorge said, "My favorite component has to be wooden pieces, especially screen printed ones. It feels solid and real. I hate plastic like the trains in Ticket to Ride. They look cheap and feels fake. I'll upgrade one day. It's great to see games go that little further and be creative, think outside the box, and create visually stimulating and functional game pieces like cardboard tower, dice towers and Wingspan, and Fate of the Fellowship, or the Bridges and Caput Regni and the White Castle. Anything but plastic." I think there are games where the plastic fits.
Yeah.
I think for me, I agree with what Rog said, where it's like, I want the designer to have thought about what is the best medium for this component and what's going to feel the best and fit in with the rest of the design. I think and have it be intentional.
So you talk about these wooden things. I mean, I remember spending hours putting together the cardboard boats for Merchant's Cove. Yeah. Oh my Lord! And then because I got the Kickstarter stuff, it's like, here's an extra big boat, here's an extra small boat. Carl, my brother, you're killing me here.
I love those boats. I'm glad those boats. My problem is I've got big fat fingers and I'm very clumsy. So there's a reason why I'm not a surgeon. It's because you know what, these fingers anywhere near any vital organs.
Whoopsie.
Moving on. So King Kyle said, "The size and feel of anything ranging from backgammon tokens to poker chips, the action of having a stack and placing them out like poker chips over a roulette table, peak board game component interaction for me. That is quite fun. Previously shouted out, Dryfly Steven said, I'll never forget opening Lost Ruins of Arnak and seeing the tablets, arrowheads, and gems and realizing what could be done with component quality. They remain a standout. He then name-dropped you, Conor. He said, Conor mentioned Everdell and those berries are just so squeezable. Again, though, the base components were all quite outstanding in comparison to what I'd considered the norm. He loves the chunky pieces in Royal Visit. That's actually a really nice, they're really nice big chunky pieces as well. Loves the coins and Nippons. Loves the box for Art Society. So Art Society has like a dual layered board game box, which is really cool. And I still giggle at the meeples and silos that have people printed on one side and the aliens hiding under clothes on the other. There could be more favorites, but he'll stop there. And lastly, we had Ingy from the Discord who said, cards are my favorite component in board games. I think we've gotten so used to them that we've stopped appreciating how much they do. They're an incredibly compact game piece. They can serve as a source of randomness within a deck. They can clearly communicate state, so tapped, flipped, a card under a card. And they very often spark vivid imagination through their design and art. They're essentially a small window into the game's world. It's a really profound statement, Ingy, and I agree.
I'm pretty sure, though, Ingy, when you say the word tapped, you've got to follow it up with TM.
TM, yeah, trademark.
Yeah,
that's right.
Okay, so now for this week's question of the pod. And we talked about how Regicide has been Legacyfied. And I think for a long time, every game was trying to have a legacy version. And, there's a reason why it was quite popular. And so what we want to know is, what are your favorite legacy mechanics in board games? So, for example, do you like putting stickers on cards? Do you like using a tuck box? My favorite is when you get to modify the board. So one of the first ones that I played was Risk Legacy. And, I mean, that just became like a proper war because you would stick out and you would weaken like someone's territory, and the amount of vitriol that was thrown over the board to each other was, and it meant like, and we always joke about, right, like winning for me is not everything in board games, because if it was, I wouldn't play many. Like I always joke about that. I have never felt the need to win a game more. Might have been the combination of playing against my brother and his friends, but to win a game more than games of Risk Legacy, because you write your name on the board to say you're the victor. So you would then modify the board. We did have an issue that we ran into with Risk Legacy, but obviously for me explaining it would be a massive spoiler, so I won't do that. But if you want to know in person, just let me know. I can put it up as a spoiler on the Discord. But yeah, definitely modifying the board somehow, and whether that's nerfing another player or buffing you, I think is a lot of fun.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's probably less of a mechanic, but I love a twist. So if something comes up in a legacy game where you open a box or you open a card pack or something, and it like introduces this new mechanic that's crazy or breaks the game. I love that feeling of like, oh my god! Yeah. Like that happened to me in Ticket to Ride Legacy. After you've finished the first scenario and you open the new set of rules, you're like, oh my god, this is crazy. So I really like that. I also do enjoy tearing cards. I find that a very fun tactile experience. Like, oh, I'm really like, I think initially it was a gimmick for the first few games that did it, where it's like, oh my god, I'm destroying this game.
Yeah.
Which goes against everything in the collector's kind of way of being, essentially. So I do enjoy that kind of tactile. I'm going to tear this card and see how we go.
One of my favorite memories of starting Risk Legacy, because we started it with my old man, is that when it was like, and now rip up the card. He's like, no, what does the rule book actually say, Connor? And I was like, it says to rip up the card. He's like, we're not ripping up a card. He's like, we are not doing it. I said, it literally says, Dad, to rip up the card. And it was almost like, and of course, being a dad, he was like, well, I don't think that's the right thing to do. And I was like, fine, I'll put it away, but we're not using it again because it says not to do it. So yeah, he was absolutely shocked. But as per usual, doesn't matter what we think, it matters what you guys think. So please let us know, what are your favorite legacy mechanics in board games? I'm so excited to hear. And maybe you have an idea. Make sure you do patent pending or TM it for a way to Legacyfy a game. I'd be really interested to see if there's any like that. And if you're wanting to respond to our question of the pod, why not become members of our Board Game BBQ community? One way you can do that is, of course, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/boardgamebarbecue to sign up and donate to get access to exclusive podcast episodes that we make just for you guys. And of course, lots of different events. One of the big ones coming up is, of course, the Patreon party for PlayCon. Still spots available for that, but they are going fast. So please get on board and sign up if you want. Of course, if you aren't in a position to do that, we would never ask you to do so. But if you can just tell your mates about us. We love talking about board games. We love getting for new people to listen to us. So you can go to Apple Podcasts and leave a star rating or review for us, or use Spotify's star rating. It would mean the world if you did that. We love some reviews. They always put a smile on our face. You can also get involved via our Facebook community, following us on X, on Instagram, and we are uploading our audio to YouTube as well. And one of my favorite places to hang out, so every time I get to do this hosting gig, is the Discord community. I've made friends for life there. I just love that. I think both you and I, Joe, have met people and hang out with people every other night on Discord. So having a little Overwatch parties, which is great.
Absolutely.
So, I just love it. But any way that you want to get involved, our links are in the show notes, and please do.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cork, the fastest game you'll ever play with a string and a cup. Cork from the OP Games, a chaotic fast reaction dice game where every round comes down to one split-second decision. Roll the oversized dice, watch the totals, and the instant they hit 7 or show doubles, yank your string before the cupper slams the cup down on top of your cork. Too slow, you hit with points. Too early, also hit. Will you panic? Absolutely. It's easy to learn in under a minute, plays up to 7 players straight out of the box, and somehow gets louder and funnier every round. Perfect for families, parties, or anyone who thinks they've got quick reflexes under pressure. Cork by the OP Games, a proud sponsor of PlayCon.
All right, I do have one disappointing thing to let you know, Joe. I am not going to clear my throat / make a fire sound. I'll leave that to our board game queen in Dana. But it is time to talk about something we are fired up about. What's got you cooking hot under the collar, Joe?
I feel like I'm been rebitten by the board game bug after a little while off, and so I've been adding to my Kickstarter pledges, which has been fun to do that again. One shout out is for Lee Perrett's game.
Yes,
has come up on Kickstarter now. So Lee Perrett has been a long time supporter of what we do, has shown his designs at our game days and at PlayCon, and so some assembly required as part of the it's All Play, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Part of the recent All Play games Kickstarter. So some assembly required is legally distinct from IKEA, but it's a game where you're building furniture in your house essentially. And we got to play test it when Lee had been designing it and shown it at our game days. And I'm so happy for Lee that All Play picked it up and is now on Kickstarter. So you should definitely go and have a look at the game and back it if you want to support local Australian designers. So that got me very excited to be able to back some games. I've also backed a couple of the new Button Shy games that they've released. And one of my favorite shows is Game Changer from Dropout.
Oh, yes.
And so they've produced a board game now based on some of the Game Changer games. So I was very excited to back that as well. So that's me. I've been bitten by the Kickstarter bug again. So that's exciting.
So you've been bitten by the Kickstarter bug. I have found myself slowly being able to operate earlier in the mornings. So this isn't so much a fight up. This is more, if you've gotten to this point of the podcast, please send me your suggestions. I have a very specific activity I want to do on the train in the mornings, right? So I remember
Okay.
Our old coach.
Where are we going with this?
It's very much above board, okay, right? It's not like when I used to catch the train from Southern Cross to Dallas, right, in the northern suburbs.
Yeah.
No, I remember Mitch being the solo gamer that he is. He used to have this booklet, which was like a war game booklet, right? And he would write them. If anyone has any suggestions for me to buy a similar type of book, now I know there's like the Stephen Jackson ones and stuff like that. That becomes a little bit tedious, like with rolling dice. And I suppose I could use a dice app on my phone. That's fine. But if you have any suggestions for me for games I can play like as a book, a little handheld thing on the train in the morning for it runs for about half an hour, I would be all ears 100%. I'm trying to stay off my phone. So I know there's like apps I can play on my phone, but I'm trying to stay off it, really trying to get those different synapses firing to get ready for work. And then the other thing I was thinking was if I really enjoy them, I could give them out to my kids in my maths classes as an extra activity. So if anyone can give me those suggestions, that's what will make me fired up. So please send them my way. So quick solo games that take half an hour. I don't have a table space. That would be funny if I just started taking my own table space and had like a little table.
So funny. Yeah. So cute.
So that's me. But yeah.
That's awesome.
That's me. And that's us for this episode. 361. Just the 2-player game like Joe's been playing at this point, which has been great. Thanks, buddy. Man, I love talking to you.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And so thank you again for all your support, guys. Really appreciate it. Really looking forward to PlayCon and the next couple of months leading up to it. It's going to be an exciting time. So please keep responding to those questions of the pod. Keep telling your friends about us. Really appreciate it. And keep playing those games. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
Ciao.